Welcome to the MVP Show. In this podcast, I talk with the amazing CRM diva, otherwise known as Sarah. She's a brand new MVP and I'm excited to have her on the show. For full show notes, please visit nz365guy.com/38. Now on with the show.
There's a knife in my heart and a storm in my hand.
All right, I'm here on the MVP Show with Sarah Jelinek. Now, did I say that right, Sarah?
You got it perfect. Awesome job, Mark.
Excellent, excellent. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, where you live, that type of thing.
Sure, certainly. I am, so again, my Sarah Jelinek. I am now a technology evangelist at Arctic Information Technology. I currently work for a company that's based out of Anchorage, Alaska. So if everyone thinks, oh, you get to go there a lot and see things, not as often. I work from home in Fargo, but Fargo, North Dakota, to be precise, because I know people don't necessarily always know where Fargo is, even though we have the television series and the movie to help us.
Hang on. What's the television series and what's the movie? I don't know either of them.
Okay, well, they're both named Fargo, so they're easy to find, and it talks about life in the area, which is not necessarily based in Fargo. There's different places in Minnesota and North Dakota, but you'll hear people refer to the Fargo accent, which I like to break out every once in a while for people. It's just the oh sure, yeah, gosh, you betcha kind of things.
It sounds a bit like Scottish in a way.
Yeah, it's I think we have a good influence from our neighbors up north from Canada. We have some of Scandinavian influence as well, because we have a large population here as well that came over and established their roots here. So we've got lots of influences. So, but it's a very unique accent, and as I start to get comfortable, I'll probably tend to break into that during our talk today. So I apologize ahead of time if you can't understand what I'm saying.
You should go for it.
Yeah.
And nobody can understand my accent, they tell me, so but they still listen, so it's all good. It's all good.
Luckily, I'm picking up every word, so I'm not losing anything so far.
Excellent. So tell us about what is so amazing about Fargo.
Well, my family is not too far from here. I grew up in a small town, probably about 150 to 200 people when I was growing up. There's about maybe 80 people there now. My parents still live there, so it's about 160 miles away from here, about 2 hours or so of a drive.
Is this like Pisek? Pisek?
Pisek. Yeah. So it's actually. Go ahead.
Go. How do you say it?
You say it Pisek.
Pisek. Okay.
Yes, there's actually a city in the Czech Republic that has the same name. That's where we got it from. I think it represents Sand City is what Pisek stands for.
So do you have some Slavic heritage in that area as well?
Yes. Yep. So absolutely. So my family's close by. I don't mind the 4 seasons that we get, which it really tends to be construction, and winter is the primary seasons that we have. But but it's enjoyable. I like it. I have a lot of family in the area, so it's hard to branch away from that because we're really close. But that's why I like Fargo. And
doesn't Microsoft have a big office up there?
They do. I actually used to work for Microsoft right out of college or university, and they do have a really good presence, probably about, I'd say, 1,100 employees, if not full-time, but at least contractors that work out of their offices here. They've got quite a few different buildings, so it's a pretty impressive campus of employees there.
Okay, and did the CRM, UG, Dynamics Communities, that type of thing start in Fargo as well? I just don't know if that was the case.
I know they have an office here. I don't know that they actually started out of here.
Yeah. It just seems a lot of their staff were former employees and of Microsoft. And, I had heard a few of them talk about Fargo as being the location. So I just thought that was the case, perhaps.
Yep. No, they have a really large presence here. I think of Dynamic Communities, it's probably the largest amount of employees is probably located here in Fargo.
Okay.
Yep. Because you're right. They're former Microsoft employees or people that have worked in the channel that do tend to work there.
So why don't you tell us a bit about what you do when you're not doing your Dynamics type stuff?
I am, obviously, you've heard why I stay in Fargo is because of family. I spend a lot of time with my family. My dad was one of 13 children. So I have a lot of relatives in the area, and I have 4 nephews and a niece. So I spend a lot of time doing things with them, going to their different events, and then of course just traveling whenever I can with them and getting to go see the sights and see the world. So those are my two passions, family and travel. So I definitely enjoy it.
What's 3 things I would need to do in Fargo if I came there?
3 things you need to do in Fargo. Ooh, that's a good question. Well, you see me, of course. So that should be like your first thing on the list is to figure out
Number
a time
1,
to meet up
check.
with Sarah. Yes,
Done.
absolutely. The other one, we have a pretty fun downtown life. We get different options for you to see. You take your picture in front of the famous Fargo Theater. That's our iconic sign that we have. What I've told people is interesting to do when they come here is, because we're so known of being Fargo and people associate us with the movie and the television series, is if you go to our convention and visitors bureau, they actually have from the film, there's a scene with a wood chipper. It's a famous scene at the end. They actually
Does someone
have
go
that.
in the wood chipper?
They have, yes, they have that. They have that prop.
There's a wood chipper in a movie, right? Someone's
Yes,
got to be going in it.
They have the actual prop that was used in the movie. They have it in the visitors bureau. But if you get there after hours when they're not open, they do have a replica outside that you can take your picture next to. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, that's our draw. But
now I'm going to have to look up Fargo. Is it on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something?
Something like that. Yes, I think so. And I know, I think I've watched the first season. I haven't gotten into the other seasons, but there are moments I'm like, yeah, we totally do that. And there are moments I'm like, you guys are totally making that up. So
Yeah. I bet.
A true North Dakotan will pick out and say, you guys are really exaggerating, or that's not the case. So yeah.
So what area of the Microsoft Business Application landscape do you play in?
I actually started with Dynamics since version 3.0. That was when I first got my introduction to it. And I was really around the core components of it, teaching and utilizing sales, customer service, the out-of-the-box marketing, some service scheduling, customization configuration. So just kind of covering that. And then I really started to get more into the XRM with my current company, because we do very custom deployments. But we're starting to move a little bit more into commercial now. So if I had to pick one area that was my passion, I would have to say customer service. I've been in customer service all my life. My grandparents, both sets of grandparents, actually owned grocery stores, and we'd always work there and provide service to people and know what it means to make a difference and a positive impact when you're providing that service. And right when I got out of university, I went to Microsoft and I worked support for the accounting system. So Great Plains, at that time, was Dynamics e-Enterprise. So understanding, customers' frustration or need to have something done, delivering that service, and having the tools appropriately available to me to capture that. I really loved what customer service and Dynamics could do. So I tend to know and cover all the areas that are available, but if I had to pick one where I really am passionate about, it would be customer service.
Interesting. So let's say you are coming into Dynamics right now, and this is day 1 for you, but you knew everything you knew about Dynamics already. And if you like the landscape, the product set, the first-party apps, the Power Platform, Power BI, Flow, Power Apps, etc., and you're kicking off your career, where do you reckon you'd invest your time in learning to get up to speed based on kind of what you're seeing in the future?
Obviously, working with the Power Platform is going to be a significant, I think, because, when people, I think, first looked at Dynamics, they see this big application, this big product, all these different features. Do I use this or do I not use this? What's this marketing thing that I see in my sitemap? Do I really need this? Being able to really create, custom tailored apps for people that they can use, and having the capability to create your own user interface with that too, if you want it as well. I think that's an area where it's really gonna grow, because you'll have people like me that will still know everything else, and you like that will know how everything else works. But being able to just create that one piece of software that someone needs right away, and making it usable and available on mobile apps, and streamlining it for what the user is going to need to do, I think it's going to be a huge area.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting time, and what's coming up, and what's coming, if you like, down the pike. It's quite exciting, and how everything is stabilizing out. Listen, you just recently became an MVP.
Yes.
Tell me, what was that like, and is it worth all the hype?
Yes, I did. I was actually awarded in June of this year, and it was exciting. It's one of those that you have people that say, "Oh, I'm nominating you. I really think you should be an MVP," and you think about it. Then it's at that moment when you don't expect it. You're completely just like, "Yep, if it happens, it happens. I'm just going to keep doing my day to day," and then you get that email or that notification. You're just like, "Wow." And I'm incredibly humbled because I do have a passion for this product. I don't know many people that can say I've been working with software for 11 years. This particular piece of a solution of an application to have that passion for this many years and continue to see the improvements and see how it can help people. I was very honored to get that award, and I think it's worth it. It's like drinking from the fire hose of just all that's out there and trying to keep up with it and trying to share that information, that you're doing before you have the award, and now to do that and still try to keep up to date and being able to provide that appropriate feedback and continue to evangelize. It gets a little bit more overwhelming because of all the information that's coming to you and all the information that you just want to be able to continue to share and learn and get ready to continue to evangelize. It's worth it. I think it's definitely worth it.
So when you say drinking from the fire hose, are you saying that now you become an MVP, you've got access to these, other channels that are, of course, under NDA, and you're saying that there's so much content? Or what's your feeling there, as in when you're talking about this fire hose?
I think there is so much content. There's so many exciting things. You're part of a network you're part of a huge network to begin with of all the people that utilize and implement Dynamics 365. But now you're part of a network of people that take it to the next level, and they're just diving into things and figuring out, how does this work? Why does this work? Why am I getting this result? And you're learning so much. There's so much communication going back and forth with this network that it's a matter of, okay, how do I consume all this? How do I need to do something on this now? Is this something I need to worry about? Is this something I should explore? Is this something that does it really apply to me? It's just an information overload, but it's a good information overload. I know that I can come back, or I know who to talk to. I've got other wonderful resources now in my network that are really helpful. That it's easy to build those relationships and then continue to help people get the success that they deserve when they work with this product.
Yeah, so true, so true. So you're also a trainer as well, is that right?
Yes, actually, I've been training on Dynamics for over 11 years, so that's kind of where I started, is focusing on training and using and implementing Dynamics 365 or CRM at the time.
And so tell us a bit about what I really want to know is from, you've come from a time period or a period of time where, instructor-led training, and I often ask people this question that dealing with learning, where everything was kind of like in a classroom and it was visceral, you had backwards and forwards with your students, that type of thing, and learning transfer happened. It's a transfer of that tacit knowledge because you're connected, you're together, and
Right.
the learning happens. Now we live in a world where it's costly to knock somebody out of consulting for a day to do a day's training, let alone 5 days training, like some of the old Dynamics courses back in the day. And we're seeing e-learning becoming much more prevalent, or virtual learning sessions. How do you find that affects learning, just from your experience?
hmm That's a great question. I think you're right. I was available back in the day where we had the instructor-led courses, and I think you're able to create those connections. And there's connections I've made, I still have, that I still interact with former students and or attendees of my sessions. And being able to build that network is incredibly helpful. I think e-learning is great because, like you say, it's hard to step away for a day to do that consulting. And it's great because how it's broken out, like let's talk about Dynamics Learning Portal as an example. You've got smaller sessions, sometimes up to 20 minutes, sometimes, a 5-minute video. You got different lengths, and you have the capability to zero in on the topic that you want to know. So for those of us that continue to stay in the area of Dynamics, and we recertify every time there's a new exam, there might be some new content I want to learn. I can just focus on that. I know everything else. I don't have to spend, 8 hours watching videos. It might be an hour instead. So I think being able to have that focused content is really huge. But you do start to lose those connections, because as an instructor-led training, you have the capability to speak to your students from experience and say, I ran into this implementation and we found that this was a limitation, but we used this in Dynamics to achieve that, to overcome that. And you don't quite get that capability so much in an e-learning. If you do virtual instructor-led, you might have a little bit more, but then you've got time that you're focused on trying to cover so many modules within a certain amount of time. And I think you still have that capability, but then again, that's hard for people to take away even 3 hours out of their day to sometimes attend a virtual session. But it's just the way that we're going these days. And with people, their attention spans are shortening as well with all the amount of information that we have. So it's a little bit more difficult to try achieve that, but it's doable.
So true, so true. I find that you as an instructor, you also can't see the people that are kind of are struggling with the concept because you're not getting those facial things of, okay, that person's not getting what I'm saying, so I'm going to drill into details. Not even that people are asking, like, because you have different personality types and not everyone is forward and going, hey, can I have help with this? And because you can't see that visual element, it's hard to then do that knowledge transfer. That's what I've found.
Absolutely. I mean, with virtual, you could potentially do some webcam, but not everyone wants to share their webcam because they might be distracted. They might be getting a phone call in the middle of your lecture, and they don't want you to see that. So, you're right. There we do lose that element of, is my audience grasping this? Absolutely.
It's interesting. I don't know. Have you ever played with Zoom.us?
Well, yeah, actually, we have. I've not actually run a meeting myself, but I've been in a few different sessions where that's been used. And that's actually a pretty sharp tool. I actually like that.
I love it. I have a full paid up subscription for it because I just find it so good, and I just more and more I have gone to video calls because the communication I feel is so much better, even one-on-one, and people, I'll put my camera on and theirs won't be on, and it changes the level of communication that you can have with somebody, especially when there's more than one person in the room, because people are a lot less likely to get distracted. And I just, why I mentioned Zoom.us is that part of their whole marketing, campaign, etc. around that is that it really can create those type of relationships if the video's on. Teleconference is no good if the video's off. Well, it's not no good, but it's not the same. You're missing out on stuff, to the same degree.
I agree. We're starting to use Microsoft Teams internally for, the replacement of Skype. And even with Skype, we tried to use video as well. Initially, you get a little bumpy road with first adopting Teams, but now we use that. We have video calls every time we talk to somebody, and it does make a difference. You can see their focus. You can see their reactions, especially if I'm, doing a demonstration of something to a couple of people. Are they paying attention? Are they getting it? Are they confused? It really does make a huge difference.
Yeah. Speaking of Teams, man, that tool has just changed my life in the last 6 months.
Yeah, they've done a lot to
amazing,
it. It's been amazing,
right?
Absolutely.
It blows me away. Like, I've got a distributed team. I've got people that work for me in Australia, and Asia, and Philippines, and I tell you what, the ability for me to communicate and have an ongoing conversation that's got nothing to do with email, but everybody's learning, etc., and engaging from that as well, is just a gold mine of time saving and productivity enhancement. And yeah, I just love it.
I do too. I think initially it was a tough sell for a lot of us, and even me. I really liked my Skype. I love my notifications that popped up. I love that it changed the color of the icon in my tray to let me know, hey, you're missing something here. I think with Teams, it's still a little bit of not. I don't want to say it's invasive like Skype was, or as obvious as Skype was when you get a notification, but it's still, I'm starting to warm to it, and I think it's really helpful, especially when you do break out into those teams and you have that document capabilities and sharing information, like you mentioned in the chat, to see that history. It's definitely helpful with that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember with Skype, I used to have a big square on top of my monitor that was powered into USB in Skype, and it would change color, it would flash, all that kind of stuff would be red if I was busy. It was a good indicator, in an open office environment that, hey, I'm busy. Don't interrupt me type thing. And when it was green, people could either talk to you in person or talk to you via Skype. So it was. I
actually have that. Is it Embrava? I think is the
I can't
name
remember
of
the
the
name. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually have that on my desk, which I bought that even when I worked from home because even if I stepped away into the other room, it could flash to let me know something's coming in. It did that with Skype. I don't know if it does it with Teams so much, but it's really helpful so that I know, oh, someone's trying to call me. I should probably come in and take that call. Yeah, very helpful.
So tell me, one of the things about maintaining one's MVP is contribution. So it's one of the things that you're measured on, one of the things I'm measured on. Tell me, what's your perception of this contribution? Kind of what works for you? I'm not so much interested in what other people do, but really what have you found works for you? Because everybody is so unique in this area, and so yeah, tell us a bit about that.
Well, I'm part of the At Your Service podcast with Sean Tabor and Scott LaFontaine, and I love it. It's great because it's like chatting like this. I love to talk to people. I love to interact and get feedback. I think that's my stronger suit is being able to talk and express things verbally. I would love to do videos, but again, that's another step of okay, now you've got to get your your set ready, so to speak. And that to me, I don't like to look at myself on a video, so I wonder why would people want to see me on a video. I'm not as photogenic as you, Mark, in being able to do that very well. But I think it's great because you can have that conversation, and it's hard to do that in a blog article. I think they're so helpful though because anytime I have an issue that I'm trying to solve, or I'm getting an error, or I'm wondering how can I do this, I immediately search the internet right away. And I think the people that can write those articles are extremely talented and continue to share that. There's so many in my mind that I want to contribute that way, but it's again finding the time. And I'm a perfectionist when it comes to writing. People tease me because it takes me 5 or 10 minutes to write a simple 3-sentence email, but because I'm so concerned about how that is coming across and how I'm saying things. Do I have any spelling errors? Am I making sense in my email? Because there's so many thoughts running through my head. It's just so much easier to communicate for me verbally. And then to get in front of crowds and to talk about the product, whether it just be it doing the UG Medic help desk at Summit or, doing a presentation, doing demonstrations. I think I absolutely love that. And being able to just jump to another topic quickly in a presentation to cover someone's answer. I love that capability. So those are my areas where I can get in front of people and hopefully they can see my passion with this product and how I think it's just one of the greatest solutions out there.
I was just thinking on that whole video front, it's definitely the future. And one of the things that I've just, I was telling you just off air before we came on was been doing some video learning and doing closed captioning. And I tell you what, closed captioning is how videos get found, as in because all those keywords that are in your closed caption are being searched. And that's what I'm finding. And, I was just doing some editing in Premiere Pro, and every time I'd run into a very specific problem, I could Google it and it would give me the exact video on that little piece. So I think, the way learning is changing is definitely, from a just in time, learn as you need type scenario. And man, it's powerful. So it's definitely, I've started a YouTube channel and I really want to expand on that because I think there's a lot of opportunity there. But tell me, we're just about coming up to our time's up time. I'm going to ask you a couple of quick fire questions. So first of all, what would you tell your 20-year-old self to avoid?
My 20-year-old self to avoid?
Or do.
Or do. That's a great question. I'm trying to think about it. I think I would tell my 20-year-old self, find your passion, find what you want to do, and look at take time to look at everything that's being presented to you to achieve or to do, and figure out, is that what you really want to do? Is that the path you want to go down? I thought I always wanted to be in support. But as I came later in life, I realized I really love training. I love showing people the good things and hopefully answering those questions before they become problems and someone gets irate and hates something. I realized that was my passion. So I would have loved to have tried to find a way to go down that path. But my time and support was huge. I can't say that was a bad decision, but look at it as, is this something you really want to do, or do you feel like you need to do it because it's going to advance your career or potentially get your promotion and you're just still not going to be happy when it comes down the road? So I know you said that was a quick question. I'm probably
It's good.
not
No,
providing quick answers.
it was a quick question, but it can be a long answer. That's
Okay.
all good.
All right. I'm not going to get penalized or lose points for that. That's good.
Yeah. If you could relive one moment in your life, what would it be? What would you go back to and relive again?
Oh, wow. These are really thought-provoking questions. I love them. It's an event that actually I do tend to relive every year, and it's a get-together. There's a bunch of us CRM consultants that we're called the CRM ladies, that we get together every year. We pick a location somewhere, rent a house, and just get together and we talk about life and work. And that was one of the most impactful moments of my life. And luckily I do get to continue to relive that every year and get together with them. And, just being able to meet with someone that knows exactly what you're going through and, to help discuss your career options and discuss your job and find ways that you can continue to improve yourselves and then also help people improve their lives as well. It's a moment I luckily get to relive every year.
That's awesome. So do I know any of the other ladies that
I think you
attend
know
this
every single
little...
one of them. Yes.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So this is a little annual thing you do, and it's like no males allowed.
Right. It's called the Women's International Networking Event. The acronym is actually WINE, so you can imagine what we consume a fair amount of.
Are you telling me Juliet came up with that name?
Actually, Julie was one of the people that agreed on the name. I think it was a friend of ours, Glennis, that came up with it, but it's perfect.
That is awesome.
Yes. So yes,
Perfect.
she is one of the founding members of the Women's International Networking Event. Absolutely.
That is so cool. Listen, has been, in your career in dynamics, has it taken you to places, and I'm talking about travel, that you perhaps wouldn't have if you had, been in another role?
It has. I actually had the opportunity to travel to India. I want to say it was 2014. I get my years mixed up. I'm not one of those people that can remember those details, but it was a very short trip, and I got to travel there, and it was a wonderful experience to do a big international trip on my own, to travel there, to see the sights. It was fun.
And so were you working as well?
I was working, yes. I was a consultant and was actually delivering a class, and I know I'm going to say the name wrong. People say it a couple different ways: Hyderabad or Hyderabad.
No, Hyderabad is what I would have thought it is. And,
I've always said it that way, and then I've heard people say it the other way, and I'm like,
let's see if we have anybody jump on and make some comments. I've never been to India. Was it amazing?
It was, and I wish I would have had a little bit more time to see the sights, but it was a last minute quick trip, and then I had to get back. I was actually had some other work obligations I needed to be back for, but it was a great experience. It was in April, which apparently is their hottest time of the year, so. I would have loved to have gone out a little bit more at night when it was not so hot and to see the sights, but it was a great experience.
Excellent. That's so cool. Hey, Sarah, it's been great chatting to you. Our time is up. I know we just spent some time together a couple of weeks ago, but I look forward to catching up with you at Ceramugi in Phoenix. I'd say will be the next spot.
Yes, I'm very excited as well. I hope anyone that's listening to this, if they're on the fence, just go. It's worth it. It's worth every moment you can spend there. If you don't go to all the sessions, just the people that you get to meet is worth it.
Excellent. If people want to find you online, where can they find you, Sarah?
Well, I have a Twitter handle that I don't give as much love to as I would like to. It's at Dine365Diva. You can also hear me on the At Your Service podcast through CRM Audio. And you also can find me on LinkedIn. Happy to connect with people there as well.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave feedback on your favorite podcast app. Full show notes can be found at nz365guide.com/38.